Wars have been waged since the beginning of time. However, in those wars, you don't point to one battle that really influenced the world that we live in today. However, there are about 5 that really have, and one of them is the Battle of Stalingrad in World War II. This battle lasted for 5 months, resulting in nearly 2 million casualties combined between the Russians and Germans. September 1st, 1939, the Nazi war machine began to wage its war against the world with the invasion of Poland, alongside the USSR, as allies under the German-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact, which was a pact stating that neither Germany nor the USSR would enact military action against each other for the next 10 years. However, almost 1 year after the Germans conquered France, they finally realized that invading England wasn't going to be possible for the next couple of years, so they turned their heads to the east. Operation Barbarossa was the largest military operation of all time, including 3 million Axis troops consisting of Italians and Germans alike, along with 3,500 tanks. This invasion force was split into 3 army groups: Army Group A, Army Group B, and Army Group C. Army Group A was the northernmost invasion force. Army Group B was more in the middle between Army Group A and Army Group C, and obviously Army Group C was the southernmost. Within 2 months of Operation Barbarossa, the Germans were knocking at Moscow's front door. They were about 20 miles out and closing fast. However, just like Napoleon, they ran into the Russian winter, which stalled their invasion. Because it stalled, Hitler decided that he was going to push more troops south and try to invade the Caucasus, which is a set of oil fields that provide, I think it's 75% of the oil to the USSR at that time. They're located in southern Ukraine, and they still produce lots of oil. So Hitler decided to split troops from Army Group B and move them down to Army Group C and start an invasion on the southernmost plain. This inadvertently set the course for the Battle of Stalingrad. On August 22nd, 1942, the bombs began to fall, destroying buildings, barracks, and civilian homes alike. The Russians fighting for their leader city, and the Germans fighting for the much-needed oil that would potentially, if used right, win the war. Men, women, and children alike were taking part in the effort to protect Stalingrad, whether it be fighting, putting up barricades, boarding up houses, and over 40,000 of these civilians were killed in the crossfire. This, however, was unfortunately to no avail, as within the first month, 80% of the city was in German control. By the 3rd month, the Germans had pushed the Soviets all the way back to the Volga. The Volga was a river that ran on the easternmost side of Stalingrad and was a main transporting for goods, people, and everything else throughout the USSR. So, as any genocidal leader would, Stalin enacted 2 policies. One would be, because they were so low on weapons, ammo, and they had a plethora of men, they decided to send in groups of 2 men. One would carry a Mosin Nagant, the standard Russian rifle at the time, and one would carry 5 rounds of ammo. When the man with the Mosin was shot and inevitably killed, the man with the ammo would pick up the Mosin and continue to fight with the dead man's weapon. The other act that he enacted was that if any man was to retreat from the fight, they would be killed by their superiors. This is represented very well in the movie called Enemy at the Gates, where they show in not 1 but 2 scenes the brutality and the lack of caring they had for deserters. But in the end, these suicidal pushes, these suicidal tendencies, and despite how brave these men were for continuing to fight for a country that would rather see them dead than alive, they were not the people that broke through the line and saved the day, unfortunately. It was the Volga froze over on the both north and south, and the Russians were able to mount a counterattack force of over 4 million troops. 2 million troops, not on either end, but combined, so about 1 million on each side, and encircle Stalingrad as a whole. This resulted in the entire Sixth Army of Germany to be surrounded, and eventually, through 2 months of fighting, being completely encircled, airdrops coming in, trying to supply these men, they were all eventually captured and killed. This battle alone decided the world's fate between Nazi rule and democracy. In the world we live in today, the country we live in today, the way the countries are divided today, everything would be completely different had this battle gone differently. Because once Germany got control of these oil fields, it was game over in a sense. Like, Russia would not have the oil to fight anymore. Germany would have more oil than they could even use, essentially, and that could be passed on to Japan or Italy or, any other Axis power. So this battle truly defined the world that we live in today, and it's very important.